Hello, everybody. It's Friday night and it is Weekender time once more. And we have another show that's absolutely heaving for you with all the news from across the tabletop hobby goodness this past 7 days. There's even a submarine game. Put your bets down now as to who makes the first dive joke on that one. I'll let you decide very shortly. But before we get into the show itself, we have a prize, courtesy of Warcradle Studios. We have a Promethean complex set to give away as part of Terrain Fest. To be able the chance to win that big beastie, you need to comment here on YouTube down below and also be a subscriber to the channel. If you do that for me, that's very good. And if you can press all the buttons, that's great. It costs you nothing to do so. Now, sit back and relax because your weekend starts here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekender. I'm joined by John, Shay, and Ben. Hello.
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 Yeah.
To take you through this week's news. All the news that's fit to print. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, skip it, Jerry. Just go straight to the Kickstarters with the multi-award winning Moonstone. We'll get there. Oh, believe me, we'll get there. But I thought we should probably start the show off at the start like we normally do rather than skipping to the end. Shame, but can't have everything. So, for those of you of an infinity bent, we are now into phase 2 of Shattergrounds. So the first 10 days? 11? I can never remember if it's 10 or 11. It's split. It's 3 weeks split. So phase 1, I think, was 10 and phase 2 is 11. It's done and dusted. If you want to see how things have gone, the roving reporter on the front line has been out scouting people's battle reports and keeping people abreast of what's been happening. So you can actually go in. They've selected some of the finest, choicest news nuggets from what's happened on Concilium and how it's sort of affecting those particular areas. And you can see links to the battle reports they're referring to. So they've taken a look at every sector and plucked out some of the more interesting battle reports, either for how the game went or for just how it was set up. There's a particularly nice one that's been done with a comic book style filter over it, which lurks. Is it that one? I think it's that one, which was just really, really fun to look at. If not, there we go. See, look, assassins.
Everything's awesome.
Everything's gone all comic book style-y. Stan Lee would be proud. Anyway, so yes, phase 2's kicking off. Everything's gone back to zero, more or less. The points for each area have reset, and then the new scenarios for each one has opened up. So if you fancy getting into that, there's still time. There's still 10 or 11 days, depending which way that breaks down.
And there's a video that we've done which sort of talks through what's happening with phase 2 and everything, so you can go and check that out as well.
Yep,
so.
Killian sits down and explains to me what's happening with the world. It's quite good. I don't know.
The other thing
I just wait to say Yu Ching.
The other thing that's very good is that throughout the first portion of phase 1, Killian went through and put together really interesting and in-depth mission briefings on all of the scenarios. So if you're somebody who's diving into Shattergrounds and you're maybe a little bit new to Infinity, but you want to just have some fun and, influence the world and stuff like that, make sure to check out what Killian's going to be doing for phase 2 and everything as well, because they are really good and they are very, very handy if you're like, I play Ariadne, but I don't know what to do.
that is true. Or in the cases of the missions themselves, because some of them are specific for Shattergrounds, it's a good way of getting a sort of a level that you can aim for then, going, okay, here's where I should be aiming for. Probably best not to take a tag and 15 hackers. Don't think you can anyway in most games, but speaking of tag, although as a complete aside, strange, Fast Panda Gaming on the YouTubes put up a battle report Wednesday night. They were playing Nomads against Yuching. Super fantastic, great. And at the start, they were discussing the mission they were playing. You got a cheaper tag was available, and none of them took tags. And the reason they didn't is the last time they played, the Yuching hackers were so good at just dumping the pilots out of the tags and then using them to turn on the Nomad player. They just went, I'm not doing it.
Wow.
You've shot me in the face with my own tag once, and I'm not doing it again. So it's a good battle report if you want to see.
Very cool.
I think it's in the systems there as well, but the whole video battle report's up on the YouTube for Fast Panda Gaming. If you're not already subscribed, you can do that. Anyway, I digress. Not the only thing that's been announced this week. Phase 2, obviously, huge. Salute 51, huger.
Well, yes, I guess so. So yeah, tickets for Salute 2024 are now available for you to go and pick up. I've also heard that all of the stalls and all that kind of thing has already been bought up. So it's going to be a big one, I think, again.
Wow.
We're going to have a lot of people diving back in with all of their goodness to enjoy next year. I would assume that we're going to be seeing some fun stuff from there in the same vein as we got this year as well. So we'll have talks and everything from some personalities within the YouTube world, as well as all the amazing participation games that Jerry will be let loose on, and all the shops as well. So hopefully we'll be back there again covering the event and stuff. So that'll be really fun. But yes, tickets are available now. So if you are eager to get stuck in, then you can secure yourself that lovely Saturday place early.
Yeah,
very good.
Off to the XL in London in April again, I imagine.
April again, yeah.
Yeah, April 13th. So lucky for some. Gets me out of the country on my sister's birthday, so that's lucky for me. Is that not what we're at now? Anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. There may even be mugs this year. Who knows?
Fingers crossed.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
Right. So before we get into the most important part of the week, it once again is conjoined with our Terrain Fest. So if you haven't been paying attention, we've decided for the month of October to make people build terrain, build all the terrain, build it all. There, I've put a magnet in the bottom of a
I'm doing it as well.
See, got tiny snake rail fencing. We're all involved. There's a chance to win a massive prize, a mahusive, I believe is the phrase. If you get involved and build a project in our system, I know Ben's been through and he's plucked out a few choicer elements from the first sort of week that's caught his eye to give you an idea of the sort of things people are up to. The brick and stonework Hutch has been doing is just obscene.
It is great.
He is just the worst. Really nice trench system. I believe that's for a war transformed.
It is, yeah. If you're just diving into that game, this is a great project to be like to follow along with, because it'll give you loads of really good pointers for where you want to take your trench boards and stuff for that. So
duck boards are key. Oh, there's some of those trees that I'm building, except they've got paint on theirs, which I have not managed and probably won't for quite some time. Yeah. Necrothrall and Project Firefight by Caesar. That in of itself is an absolutely ludicrous project, and I don't. With the exception of like the spinner from Blade Runner lurking down the bottom there, I think pretty much everything is scratch built to one extent or another, and there's some all manner of weird, wonderful bits being press ganged into service for the little sci-fi dystopian utopia. Not sure whether it's utopian or dystopian, so we'll split the difference and call it both.
There's lots of fighting, so it could be anything. So.
There is lots and lots of fighting. So yeah. You've got until the end of the month if you're planning on building any terrain anyway, or maybe you've got terrain built and you're just planning on getting it painted up. Feel free, go nuts. It is literally carte blanche. If you just want to spend a month designing what terrain you'll probably build some point in the future, I'm not going to say you're completely out of the running, but you may as well do it. We can always
if they're lovely sketches
later on. Yeah,
I mean, so
we have at this moment in time we have no fixed decision on what way we're going to go when it comes to judging who's the winner of the overall prize, but at the very least it should inspire you to pull the finger out and get something done on the old tabletop, which is the most important thing. Off neglected, the poor terrain.
Exactly.
So yes, we thought we'd force you into it in October. And what are you going to do? You're not going to go outside. Weather's miserable. It gets dark really early. So you may as well stay in and build some stuff.
Yeah, stand outside with an umbrella, spray your terrain, and then come inside and do some painting. So yeah,
makes perfect sense to me. So on that note, this week's Indie of the Week, who's also throwing out the prize for us with that big Promethean complex, is Business Daddy, or as they prefer to be called, Warcradle Studios. Oh, I love me. Now, this is a whole range of MDF, and they've been doing it for some time and have very quietly built up a monumental catalogue that's split. Well, it had been split three ways, sort of generic fantasy, generic sci-fi, and then stuff for their own games. But of late, a few other things have cropped up as well. So we're going to start off with the other things what have cropped up lately as well. And that is the Normandy Farm.
Oh,
now,
so good.
This is so exciting and new that most of it is on pre-order for release at the end of the month.
Yes.
We had a look at the farm set previously, but the individual components are all being split out. And this is pre-colored, pre-primed, whatever way you want to call it, MDF terrain. So you can get stuck in and do additional to it if you want to, or you can just glue it together and go, it's just terrain to fight around. It's good enough in the colors they've provided. And that, I think, is a motto for life. It's not
I remember as well commenting on the palettes last time and being told I was wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
people
First World War. Yeah. First World War. There you go. Every day's a learning day.
Well, in our defense, I don't think any of us got massively into our palette history prior to that.
This is true.
I'd spent a lot of time avoiding doing palette history at school.
And rigging.
And rigging. Oh.
And rigging.
To this day, I still try and avoid the rigging.
It does not exist to you.
It does not. But yeah, the upcoming World War II range is interesting. I say it's interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it's really handy to have, and there's a lot of people play World War II and other historical periods, because let's face it, Europe still looks like this and has done for about 400 odd years in some cases. So even though it's slated as the geographic Normandy area for World War II, a lot of this could easily drop into Napoleonics and other
very easily.
Black powder sort of conflicts as well in Europe. So that's quite nice that they've got that range upcoming, and I'll be fascinated to see where else they go, because as you'll see shortly, they have, and I've chunked these together, they have gone huge in a whole range of directions. So we're going to start with the Wiki Wawa. Wild Wild Wexodus.
It's train adjacent as well, so
it is very train adjacent. So if you come on and if you're looking for the train bit, you can go in there, and there's the Warcradle one that we're in. Obviously they do other pieces, but they have a whole range, and each of them is listed by a area name. Let's say area name. So we've got Augusta. They're loosely grouped within these then, so a area may contain specific style of building. So Augusta here is a lot of train adjacent stuff, factories and demolished buildings.
Industrial America kind of thing.
Industrial America falling apart.
I
think that's the main thing, because not all of them are completely smashed to bits. Some are new builds, some are scrappy builds, some are farms, some are, you'll see them. Eventually you'll see them. Don't calm down, cool your boots.
What's quite nice about this stuff as well is that it kind of goes from, I mean, obviously it's been designed so that you can use it with their games, which are more on the 35mm side, but a lot of this stuff works equally well for 28mm as well. So if you are going a little bit smaller, it's perfect for that. But I know a lot of people have picked up this kind of stuff for the likes of Malifaux and things, which is 32. So yeah, it's quite
I should know that. I've got a box of them sitting right behind me. It works for Malifaux, works for a lot of things. The fact that it's the bigger scale is less of an inconvenience than it being a smaller.
That's true.
It's easier to put, because I mean, for Dead Man's Hand, we've had cowboys running through a mixture of buildings from Foreground and Warcradle and all sorts. So it doesn't really matter that there's slight variations, because they weren't. They were all unique builds. You know, somebody go, I'm going to build a house, and I'll either build it myself or pay somebody to build it. And it may be a bit bigger, a bit smaller. So depending on your budget, there's obviously the full kit where you can get all of your bits and pieces, including the really nice, quite like the fencing.
Yeah, the fencing is great.
As is my want in life, to look at a massive range of training and go, you know what's awesome? Bins are awesome.
I like that pallet loader.
that sort of thing. Yeah. The little carriages for pulling freight in and off the boxcars. The boxcars are quite cool as well.
I really like it when Warcradle do their blogs for these, because they tend to put in like a little story about it. So for this one, it was sort of like investigators sneaking around trying to look for things, and I sort of came up with the idea of you could have this as a place where cultists could have their lair, and you've had to go and work out what's going on there because they've taken out the security guards and that kind of stuff. So yeah, some really fun stuff for building up interesting narratives on the tabletop.
Cool. Moving away from the destroyed Augusta, which could also work for Walking Dead, now I'm thinking about it, actually.
Oh yeah.
The raccoon. We have Retribution, obviously, the town of Retribution. It's a lovely old place, and there's some bizarre stuff going on here. I mean, that theatre, that's screaming off the deep end.
Yeah.
Which is really nice, especially look at their magnificent organ.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Beautiful.
It's stunning, isn't it? And little incidental set-in pieces like that really help, especially with large buildings. Yes. Where you may not have a lot of dividing walls and stuff inside. So if you are going to play skirmish games where you're running inside and running and gunning, it's handy to have something to hide behind, even if it's just a magnificent organ. Let the pipes go.
Interiors are detailed as well in these, so they well, or at least they're coloured inside anyway. So you it's not like you're going to look at the outside and be like, "This is beautiful," and then you go inside and you're like, "Oh, it's just an MDF box." So yeah. They have tinkered around with the insides to give you a really nice look, which is good. So.
And of course, if you pick up the Sarissa book that we were looking at last week, you can go in and do some extra footering.
Lovely wallpapering.
Lovely, exactly. That's all you need to do, just wallpaper, throw the occasional carpet down.
Yeah.
I think it was a bit of this terrain. I think it was a bit of this terrain that me and Justin were looking at from Mythos.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was very good for it.
Yeah. There's another set that Wayland do as well that's very like 1920s.
Oh.
But I think a couple of these.
We'll get to the Mythos stuff later, because we're still just in the wiki wah wah. So the town of Retribution is, unlike Augusta, fully on board with the cash flow of a new wealthy town, so much so that they can afford to have a theatre and no holes in the roofs, which in of itself is, terrific. And the massive,
the rain and the gunfire out.
Both of these. It's quite nice, but there we go. There's some of our substructures. So you can see what's going on with that. I mean, the massive long-horned cow symbol up top there, presumably rancher's house or a witch. Could be there.
Or a rancher witch.
The worst kind of witches, a rancher witch. Anyway, so yeah, Retribution, it's delightful. And Red Oak, in a similar vein, is a bit more, not quite as opulently plush. It's a bit more deadwood, tombstone, out on the fringes of society. So could just be the shacks at the edge of town, or could be a sprung up mining town where everything's just sort of being slammed together as quickly as they can. So you've got things like the distillery, most important building, the one that needs to be protected at all costs, and the bank where you keep the paper for lighting fires. Protect the distillery.
It's definitely the place where an old coot lives.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
Like it. It's got a couple of big, massive pots out the back. I'd just say, break out the copper paint. Copper still those up, and away you go.
A nice little touch that I think is quite good about these is that obviously these are laser cut pieces, but the burn the burns a little bit when you come to the edges of things. Actually, it ends up adding to the look of the finished product in some cases, especially with these, which have been a little bit more battered and blasted up. So I really like that touch to it. It's very cool. But, that is a secure bank.
Yeah, but like I say, what's the point? Huh? I mean, you can't live on money. Yeah, bags of it and you'll starve in the desert.
You can live on moonshine.
Exactly.
All the nutrition you need.
And when that's finished, you can go off to Scuffins and Sons crematorium.
Yeah. I like that it has like a conveyor belt system in there as well, because clearly enough people die. And then you've also got the boots as well, the used boots.
Ask inside. It's good.
So cool. Yeah.
And if you're very lucky, you might even be able to get a full set of dentures out of them as well. Looking for the best thing. But even things like the coffin lids as
roofing.
As roofing around it.
Nice touch.
It's just really cute. We're all home to that. So that's the old ready oak sort of stuff. So that's your deadwood, your tombstones. Look, even got a shitter outside.
There's Jerry's
proper
house.
half moon.
Yeah.
So it's just that's all I need to live in, because then there's one of those massive multi-storied barns that's just crammed full with things out the back.
Yes.
Just need to sort yourself out either way. I'll not spend too long going through all of these. I think this is the second last of our Wild Wild West ones. So the Buckthorn Ranch and Stables. And as you can see, again, there's a theme behind it. So it is just a rancher's side of town. You've got the corral, the grain silo, the big barn, and again, the incidental pieces. So,
the pumps and things.
Tractor and hand pumps for the troughs to feed the animals and all sorts.
Grain silo as well.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. You could do, what's the Shyamalan movie with the aliens?
Signs.
You could do Signs, but Wild West Exodus.
That is true.
They do exist in Wild West Exodus. So
Yep. Anyway,
watches in the barn.
So Buckthorn Ranch is nice. It's a ranch. It's filled with good stuff. However, Black Lake Bayou, where has this been all my life?
These, I think, yeah.
Take your stuff out to the swamps in Louisiana. You've got your house falling to rack and ruin with the stat sitting in a corner grumbling because he's all ugly and manky and moss covered now. So that's what they do. And if they're not there, then they're on their sunken paddle steamer.
Yeah.
And that offers up interesting possibilities, because I do see some swamp tables, but nobody really leans into the big rivers, and instead of just having buildings everywhere, actually having boats.
And
that, I mean, is genius.
That needs to be on a piece with some clear resin.
Yes.
It needs to be actually sunk into a base of some sort. It would look amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And simple enough to do. You do that next week, Shay.
No.
Cover it in vines and everything as well, and have them sort of twisting through the metalwork. And
there's a jerry can on vines. You could do that, Shay, really easily.
There you
go. I'll leave the string up that I used. Very good that way. Look at the Bayou Summer House. I mean, yeah, sure.
Lovely.
Theoretically, it is
definitely a place to relax.
There appears to be a tree growing through the wall, and again, it's a serviceable piece of terrain. If you want to do more, you can do so. The tree that's pushed through the ceiling and pushing out the wall is obviously just layered MDF. That could be wicked in the bin, and you could replace it with just like a wire twisted tree that you've made yourself. That would be nice. Anyway,
or actual branches.
Or actual branches. I don't like to harm trees though, because I've seen the Day of the Triffids,
because that's where the squirrels live.
That's where the squirrels live.
Yeah. Can't take their little porches off their trees.
This theoretically is the last of the Wexodus, but also I like to think of the first of the sci-fi. So obviously the Promethean Forge. This is what some lucky son of a son is going to get. The Promethean complex, where all the Promethean is refined with the massive big derricks.
Oh, good. Yeah.
But at the same time, it worked very well for non-Wild West Exodus things. So 40k, Necromunda.
Yeah.
Judge Dredd, things like that. Things where you just want height.
Yeah.
Because there's an awful lot of coverage, but sometimes you want a bit of height. You want to have a sniper on top of a tower shooting people in the face as they attempt to run across ground.
I am always a fan of having terrain that you could push people off of so that they fall to their deaths. Or in the case of this, there's that really awesome silo with the hole in the middle, like the generator, where you can just push someone in that and just watch them burn.
Just watch them
yeah, I'm fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Flap.
I was about to say, you're right.
My week's been fine.
He's having a moment. Just let him ride out.
The end of Goldeneye is so good for you, isn't it?
Yes.
Queen of Country, James. But yes, moving away from the Wild Wild West, the sort of more generic sci-fi stuff, you've got the Omega Defense, which is a set of bunkers and the like, obviously excellent for 40k. And then some of their older pieces, which aren't colored. Things like the Necro Tower and Bridge set, again, excellent for the likes of 40k or Necro or Stargrave or whatever you want to lay your hands on, scenery-wise. Just big, chunky industrial scenery with a lot of height and distance. Good for Necromunda and Firefight as well. Now, these ones that aren't currently painted up in any way, shape, or form, I'm not saying they won't become painted up because they have form for it. The Immortal Tombs, we have a copy of this on the gaming shelves in our gaming hall, and it came uncolored, just prime wood. However, they clearly have decided to go back and then do the coloration in it. So there's a grey / light green affair going on with it. So
if you've watched Prior Nexus recently, maybe.
Yes. Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
I don't know what that means.
Just have a little death mark sneaking around, teleporting all over the place, being way better than they are on the tabletop.
Oh, is it one of the 40k cartoons?
Yeah.
I'm back in the game.
Yeah.
So again, they may come back and redo these, but as far as just generic 40k scenery or sci-fi terrain goes that you can lay your hands on and build up for your table, it's got a lot going on for it. That's a bit oriental on it, isn't it?
Infinity, I'm reckoning here.
So that looks like a takeaway in Preston that I walk past.
Maybe that's what it's based on. Oh my god!
Not beyond the realms of possibility. So decent selection of the old generic sci-fi type things, and then we hit the mythos stuff. Shay,
that's the one I was looking at. Miscam, everyone say it.
Miscam, yes. So half Miskatonic, half Arkham. Miscam.
That's the one.
See what they've done there.
Yeah.
No, stop it.
The hammers.
They have. Are you Cameron? Right. Yes. Okay. So right off the bat, a whole host of that Art Deco style building, obviously perfectly suited for mythos, but Malifaux and the like as well would work on it.
Yes.
And there's no reason why some of this stuff couldn't be in London or Paris. So if you're playing games like War Transformed, if you want to take to the streets of Gay Paris,
could also make it work for Fallout Wasteland Warfare.
Oh yeah, that's right, because it's got a very Deco feel, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's an 50s Art Deco kind of thing going on.
Cool. Look, tiny little broom cars. Broom, broom. They're cool.
Definitely safe.
Yes. If it's a choice between that and staying with the people with the fishy look, I'm getting the
That's
car.
true. Yeah.
Can't stop me.
I love the firehouse as well. The with that sort of nod to Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Look, tiny little mailboxes.
All that terrain, and again, Jerry's obsessed with the little mailboxes.
it's because you need stuff to hide behind in the street. How many times I've played games where there's been really nice terrain all over the place and nobody goes in them. They all stay outside and get shot in the face. So as many things as I can throw in the street. Now, sometimes I may go a bit too far, like when I'm teaching somebody how to play Bot War and go, you know what would look great? All the cars. And then we discover just how much damage a car wing at your head can do. Do I resent that? No.
Not looking at anybody in particular there, Jerry, no.
No, Shay. No.
I wasn't there.
No. Don't know who it was. I've decided to multi-base my car, Shay, so that you can only throw a single base now.
Damn it!
Thus giving me the car coverage I want.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, denying you
ammunition.
Of ammunition.
He's too smart for me.
Yep. Got there eventually. Dunsmith then, just like Dunwich and Innsmouth. A bit more out on the coast, fishing village, a bit more rundown. Again, fancy looking little cars. Look at them. Choo-choo. I like that. That's fancy. Do you remember a long time ago we did a ND/3D print? French guy did World War I tanks, and he showed how to take a side, front, and plan view and pull them apart in Blender to turn it into a tank.
Yep, I remember that.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, just reminiscing about old times now.
Better days.
Happier times. There we go. Fisherman's hut. Look at that.
These would be very, very good for anybody who's diving into 7TV stuff from Crooked Dice and playing around with all their Cthulhu Mythos-y stuff. Would be just perfect for them.
Well, if you just want some filth down at the docks in Carnivale.
Yes, very true. Yeah.
And look at Clock Tower. Again, somewhere you can put a sniper. Very important. I'm saying I spend a lot of time thinking about where I can put snipers. And yet, strangely, when I play games, rarely bring a sniper.
It's often because snipers in games just get done over. They get attacked by like a whole squad or something and die.
You put a sniper up there, and the first thing is somebody levels a 105mm howitzer at them and just removes the top of the building. And you go,
if Private Ryan taught us anything.
Yeah. I'm going to range in my mortar. Oh, a 6. There you go.
This monumental beast is particularly good.
Tillinghast Manor.
I mean, there's a chunky piece of terrain. What are you? 50 centimeters by 36 centimeters.
Lovely.
Chunky.
A nice set piece if you wanted to do something extravagant with a role-playing game as well.
Nope.
Have that as the setting for your murder mystery Cthulhu adventure, perhaps. So
that was a stern no, Jerry.
What about no? What about a murder mystery game where the models are playing Cluedo?
Yes, on that little table, do a little Cluedo kit.
Yes.
Print out Tiny Risk.
That would be great. Yeah.
P-Works have got a Cthulhu-style game coming at some point.
Do.
That I have no idea anything about it except for like 3 or 4 short stories they've published so far. Maybe you could play that in here. Look at that. You can run up hill and down Dale.
That is
full Scooby-Doo.
That is screaming for like fancy wall decorations and maybe some LED lights, like little hanging chandeliers and stuff in it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You
have Del Boy and Rodney dropping one.
I've never tinkled on the ivories.
Roll a d20 when you're next to that piano and it opens a secret door in the MDF terrain. There you go. So, yeah.
Poor Uncle Albert. He hit the right bolt. They were just under the wrong one.
Yeah.
The last couple are more fantasy-esque than anything else. So sort of, again, generic. You could use them for anything from Sigmar to Kings of War,
very
Ninth Age, Mordheim, obviously. They've got that nice sort of European plaster and lathe sort of wall look to them, so they'll fit in with a lot of stuff. You probably even use them at a pinch in some fantasy gaming. And this is one that completely passed me by. I hadn't realized that they'd done anything in the way of.
It's a bloody great castle.
Yeah. Like I say, I hadn't realized they'd done a fantasy set. Yeah. They've just been quietly just increasing the amount of kit that they've been doing over the years.
I like the gatehouse a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a really nice little gatehouse. Very nice if you wanted to do Frostgravy stuff and then just use nice snow effects on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Or, Yeah.
Look, there's a cage that you put people in, and they teach you Orcish. That'll make sense to people next week, probably. Please pay attention. There's a lot going on in this episode. Anyway, so yes, Klimberg Castle. I mean, that's a chunky bit of kit. I'm hoping for plans here because I want to see how big the
square is.
The actual footage is.
We saw it as well, but they do the siege kit to then attack this castle as well.
This one,
great. Yeah.
Well, yes, they do. And look, bonus stairs.
Yeah.
So you can get them down.
Roll them up to the nice and easy way to get on the roof.
I don't think that's how that's supposed to work. And a very bucket for that young Mr. Lloyd.
Yeah.
I kind of want to get enough of the castle wall stuff and then put the manor house in the middle of it.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you're not going to tell me what you are. Damn you.
It's a spooky Dracula-esque style thing.
Probably if I go in and find the individual castle sections, it may tell me. Because presumably they do. Do they? No. Oh, I'll just have to imagine. Probably 6 inches per wall section would be my guess. It looks
like a decent chunky piece.
6.
Yeah.
So 18. And then probably 4 for the squares. 18 and 8, 26. So about 2 foot-ish square. We could ask someone. I could just ask somebody in the studio.
Yeah, I could. I'll message after we've done this, and I'll find out.
We'll find out. We won't tell you. You won't get to see this because this will all be after we finish filming, and we're not going to put that information in there. But we'll know, and it'll stop annoying me, and that's the main thing in life. There is one final set, which is the little Estun village. Again, nice little generic fantasy bits, including the little village market and the watchtower. A touch of the old Viking about it.
Put some Elder Scrolls Call to Arms on this. Oh, away you go. So.
No, that's very clever, Mr. Bond. Oh, yeah.
Or you could go full Midsummer. And,
yes.
And set up some weird cultist activity inside there.
Need to build some cliffs.
Yeah. You too can fall to your death.
Is it with you and falling to death?
It's been a hard week.
To be fair, only one fell to their death.
That's true. Yeah.
That's incredibly big.
I've been tinkering around with the idea of doing like a little fun Beowulf style mini game where you have Beowulf and his men fighting against Grendel.
Sure,
that would be perfect.
Oh, perfect for the whole. Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Look, it's got that big sacred oak on the outside that the thing has there as well. That must be the town symbol. Somebody who's good with Norse runes, quickly translate what that say. No one. Anyone?
And then don't tell us because we're not going to tell you about the dimensions.
It's like whenever Warlord released Slania, and they put Ogham script at the top of every page, and I translated it and they'd misspelt it.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure that should say the Horned God, but you've written it back to front because Ohms wrote in a particular way, and that's the wrong letter. Put the slant in a different direction. So they were so close, but only a real nerd would go, "Oh look, Ogham script. I wonder what it says," and then go and find an alphabet. Anywho, so yeah, Warcradle Studios been quietly putting together a substantial amount of terrain across pretty much all genres now.
A whole world of
terrain. Shall we have a look at some news?
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, we have a ton of news to get through. We're going to be kicking it off in feudal Japan.
We are, yeah. So the folks at Fireforge Games, they had done a Kickstarter for these very nice plastic samurai not too long ago, and they are soon going to be available for you to pick up in lovely hard plastic form from their web store. So if you've ever wanted to build a samurai army and you've wanted to make sure that the majority of your models all have the same aesthetic and look, then there's pretty much covers everything really. So they've done sets of samurai, and they've done sets of ashigaru as well. So you've got 3 sets of the samurai and then 2 of the ashigaru for you to choose from. There's the samurai warriors, there's the samurai shooters, and there's the mounted samurai as well, and they all come armed with different weapons. So you have your regular old samurai who are armed with what are they called again?
Katana or naganatas.
Yes, yari, naginata, and katana. Your shooters are armed with yumi and teppo, so bows and guns, and then your mounted samurai are armed with yumi, yuri, and katana as well, which I think is very nice. Very, very good little plastic kits, these ones. If you've ever picked up any of their stuff before, like their medieval bits and pieces and all that kind of thing, these are very much in line with what the quality of stuff that you've seen from their other ranges and stuff. So a good option for those people that want to dive in and tinker around with some plastics. We had a look at there's a picture of a sprue later on in this, which we'll look at, but that one's kind of shows off that you've got sort of like nice body and leg combos. Then you can play around with the arms as much as you like, and then mess around with a whole host of different heads and everything as well, which is good to see. So you can actually get some really nice poses out of these. So if you're making a larger army, then obviously you can just do rank and file as you normally would do, just stick them all together as quickly as possible so you can just start to get painting. But if you want to build something a little bit more skirmishy, then you can maybe pick up a couple of these different sets and actually play around with the poses a little bit more and do some fun tinkering, which I think is quite nice. On the ashigaru side of things, you've got your regular warriors. They are armed with yari and naginata. So you've got your classic spears and stuff there, which is good to see. And I love the flags on the back. Always good. And then you have ashigaru shooters who come with yumi and teppo. So you can once again go with bows and swords there too. I know that when I showed these to Lloyd, he was just like, crap.
Yep. So, I backed the Kickstarter, and then I cancelled the Kickstarter, and I backed the Kickstarter. I did it back and forth about 15 times. I eventually just went, no, because I'm a man of iron will, and walked away. Am I regretting that? A little bit. But I like the fact that they've done this. So it's 6 bodies per frame.
Yes.
And you have optional heads and optional legs. So if you want to do a firing line, for want of a better word, where your front rank is kneeling or sitting, then that is doable.
Yes.
So there's plenty of options in there.
Yeah, there's 24 really models per set for the infantry, and then the cavalry sets are 12 miniatures. So you've got a whole host of bits to play around with these. Definitely enough to make yourself some armies. Yeah, I would reckon that Alfonso the Traitor in our community is probably looking at these going, ooh.
I mean, he's paid an awful lot.
Right?
I can't imagine why he would need any more, but it's doable. I'm looking at them from the point of view of Clash of Katanas, because I'll have 2 sets of, I'll have a set of Samurai from Zenith, from their last Kickstarter, but then I've also got the Ikuiki Rebel Monks as another force, but I don't. The Samurai from Zenith I got were the female set for their
the Honor Bugeisha
Zenith's fantasy game.
Yes.
So it can be used for Clash, but obviously it's not historically accurate. I just thought they're really nice miniatures. I'll have those, so I could potentially go back and pick up a set of these and maybe put together a little third samurai force.
I mean, what's quite nice, if you're looking at games like Ronin or Test of Honor, these are great sets for those kind of games. I will a note on proportions. Someone had apparently got their hands on some of these and gave us a little bit of a sneaky peeky. Oh, look, Jerry's got the rules. What a surprise. But they're a little bit larger in proportions than the stuff that you get from Warlord, which is the old War Games factory ones. So they're a little bit more on the heroic side, I guess. But that just means they're a little bit easier to paint and stuff and and that also means they can fit very nicely into anything you want to do that was slightly more fantasy themed as well, which is nice.
I mean, apart from that, a lot of people have picked up miniatures from the likes of Steel Fist and Zenith and the Perrys, and there's a whole host of companies out there doing samurai, all of which I think without exception are bigger and slightly heftier, chunky than the War Games factory / Warlord plastics. So mixing and matching these should be a much simpler proposition. If you've already picked up especially some of the hero sets. So Steel Fist's character sets are just a joy.
Right.
But obviously relatively expensive. So bulking out the army with some plastics could always be a winner. Yes, like it a lot. Seen somebody running samurai as elves in Kings of War. That was interesting.
Good choice.
Yeah, it was a really nice choice. And speaking of Kings of War's Clash of Kings for 2024 is up for pre-order, due out shortly. If you're unaware, every year, yes, let's say every year, Mantic go back and do a Clash of Kings book. Sometimes it's tied to a campaign and they've got scenarios and campaign missions in it. Sometimes it's a little standalone thing. But in all of them, they always rebalance the current army lists, and this is no different. But more than that, as you can see from the front cover, it also includes the first publication of the Twigletkin rules in paper format. They're already on the companion app because I've been list building like a mother funster since they popped up there 2 weeks ago. It's a fascinating little thing. You've got rebalancing, which is always good because if you've been playing with an army and you're constantly going, well, why would I pick that unit? It's absolutely pish. So they go back in and they go, well, what if we, decrease the points by 5, or we give it an extra crushing strength, or we do something to tweak it to change it up. And so the Clash of Kings does that. They go in and they go, well, these armies are behind the curve. And so between the rules writers and the rules committee, who are just Kings of War players from around the world, they all have a say in a bit of input and rebalance things to make it a better competitive game. But then even non-competitive players like myself can go in and go, well, that's fun. Or they add little formations where it may be a case of bringing Goblin mob-based riders. So Goblin Cavalry, they added a formation called the Bang Sticks, where they've got explosive lances, and they do double damage on a 6, but they also inflict 1 damage on themselves when they go off. So it was just a way of getting people to take units and that they may not ordinarily pick by giving them a little bit of a bump. So that's the sort of thing Clash of Kings contains. Balances, list builds, new ways to play. Sometimes there are new scenarios as well. Who knows? But this is the culmination of a year's worth of playing around with the Twigletkin. They took them out of last year's Clash of Kings. They didn't have a list. And then they took them off the companion app at the start of the year because they didn't want people buying something that was no longer going to be the same.
What a nice philosophy.
Before a new list, it's like, this army is coming out next year. Therefore, I think it was January or February, they took it away. You knew that something was changing, and boy, did it change. And so there's a whole host of ways you can pick up the Twiglets. Right off the bat, there's the new Raging Void starter set, which pits the Abyssal Dwarves against the Twiglets, and the new 2-player starter. So as you can see, 40 Abyssal Dwarves up against 40 gribbly creatures of the Twilight variety. Some of these are unfortunates who have spent too long in the void. Some of these are poor unfortunates who were kidnapped and thrown into the void, but they're good to be fired off like a glass cannon. There's also the Impalers, who are going to show up everywhere. I watched the battle report with them yesterday on Lazy Pirates channel, and Imperial. Twilight kind of very much a glass hammer. They will do a lot of damage when they get in there, but if you can hit them, they'll take a bit of damage back. So
I love the models.
Two good core armies, and more importantly, that beast of a book, which is the full rules that contains every army list except Twilight Kin, because it was printed before the Twilight Kin. So this is the current gamer edition. So you don't need to get any other book, because this little booklet here, that is the scenario campaign for the Raging Void, contains all the Twilight Kin lists that are in there, and then you can get the full list on the app anyway. Or if you pick up Clash of Kings, they'll all be in there. But this expands the storyline that started last year and then popped up in some of the novels, where the Abyssal Dwarves have been having conflict with the Twiglets, and that's obviously cropped up again during the summer campaign.
The evil ones. Grr.
Yeah, well, different type of evil. So, demonic rather than nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I like the fact that they do these 2-player starter sets. They don't take the old 2-player starter set away. It's still there. So there's currently Northern Alliance against Night Stalkers, Halflings against Riftforged Orcs, Ogres against Terrible Dry Undead, and now obviously Abyssals against Twiglets. So you've got options. Sometimes you get people go, well, I want to start, but that starter set doesn't have an army that I'm keen on. Well, there's plenty of options, or you can just go ahead and grab the bits you need.
Yeah.
There's obviously a whole host then of new ways you can collect the Twilight Kin. So the Ambush set, which contains some of the new Corsairs and the Impalers. So they're all hard plastics. And so that's the Ambush set there, is it? Might be. No,
that's the
army.
That's the army set.
Yeah, with the Navigator.
It comes with the character in there.
Yeah. So. Corsair leader, and then the Mega Army with your Navigator mounted and Void Skiffs. So interesting to see what they've finally done with the Twilight Kin. We've talked about them a little bit in the past, so I won't go on too much. But they play very differently from a lot of other things. So they're a lot about buffs and debuffs based on the heroes, and the hero then affects the unit. So certain ones like the Navigator may give auras of stealthy and spell ward to protect elves, but then give auras that buff the combat mutants that have come out of the void. So depending on the units you set them up to support, they'll behave in a slightly different way. So a lot of fun to be had with them. I've held off so far because I wanted to see what the list was like before I get into Twiglets. That'll probably be for the new year. And yes, Mikael is here, and he is no longer a unit obliterating lunatic with defensive 7, untouchable, impervious to bullets mummy. He's much more toned down, but still absolute filth. And we know what he's doing in Panathor now. He's hoking around looking for shards of the Fanulian mirror. He's got one in his shield. He's still fairly filth, just not as hugely filth. But before we leave it, I will say one of the most interesting things about the Clash of Kings book for me was what they didn't rebalance or tweak or change.
Right.
They specifically said Abyssals, so the sort of the demonic entities in Panathor, and the Trident Realms, who are fishmen and Kraken and that sort of stuff. They both didn't get anything because next year they're both getting army refreshes. I imagine not as huge as the Twiglets have got, which is pretty much whole army from new cloth from the ground up, but they're both coming next year. So
very
that's
cool.
Good because I've got those armies, so I'll be interested to see what they do. Maybe I'll paint them before they get changed. No, I won't. Anyway,
it's an aspiration.
Very, very aspirational. But like most of my aspirations, they get sunk. Right. What's up next then, Ben?
Talking of sinking things, we're looking to a fun board game set during World War II that I think John will be very excited to see return. Oh. Do you remember playing U-Boot, John?
Of course I remember U-Boot. It's been a stickler in my side since the copy in here disappeared.
Oh, I wonder where. But yes, so Phalanx, they're going to be bringing back U-Boot for you to play once again. The original was released in 2019, and it is coming back to Kickstarter on the 24th of October. You're going to be able to get your hands on either the cardboard version or the plastic one, and there's a whole bunch of other bits and pieces thrown into this as well. If you've never played U-Boot before or know what it's about, it can be played solo or it can be played with a group of 4 people as you work cooperatively to run a U-boat, a German U-boat, as you go off on different missions to try and sink lots of convoys of the Allies. So yes, you'll take on the role of the likes of the captain, the first officer, the navigator, and the chief engineer, and you'll all have very different jobs, as you'll have to sort of manage the crew and make sure that you keep things running as you sort of take on all sorts of different foes from the Allies as you go around the world. One of the nice things about this as well is that it comes with like a fun companion app at the same time, it is kind of integral to how the game works.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got like a little periscope and all sorts of different things so you can look out for stuff. Oh, it's so nice and interactive.
What's cool about it is when we did the Let's Play, when you had the companion app on the phone and you were doing the periscopic view, you could just spin on your chair to turn the periscope around. It's such an immersive and deep game with moments of sheer and utter panic when something happens. Like if you get depth charged and now the boat is taking water on, and you're like, okay, we need to figure out where the water is and how to get it out.
Yeah.
It was I even dressed up for it. Look at that.
It's like Captain Birdseye's come to see us.
Yes. It was a lot of fun. And I've always wanted to try and get people back into playing it. And now that this is coming, I'm clearly going for the plastic one. I'm not going for the cardboard one.
I was going to say, yeah, you're going to
paint and weather that thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Damn right. We're going to add some lights and stuff too. Maybe get a switch in there so that when something happens, you can switch to red light.
Red light.
U-boat. Yeah.
It was quite funny.
When you get this, John, I'm playing it with you. You know it.
It was quite funny reading the press release because they were like, it comes with a fully functioning plastic U-boat, and I was like, can you play this in the bath?
Of course.
But as an additional bonus for this version of the game, obviously it's a second printing, so they'll have tweaked a couple of things and cleaned up some rules and that kind of stuff. But they've also added to the app a mission builder. So the game comes with the ability to play solo games, linked games, or full campaigns if you want to. But the mission builder allows you to build and then share your own adventures that you want to do with U-boot. Sorry. So if you wanted to build a map and you wanted to make it slightly easier or slightly harder for everybody, then you can throw that out into the world and see if people complain about it somewhere on the internet, which I think is quite nice. So very, very cool stuff.
Yes.
All right, yeah. Sorry, I forgot what the internet was for a moment there.
Yeah. You spawn into a custom made game, and it's just other submarines you're fighting. You're like, oh bugger.
I mean, the interesting thing about a scenario builder is actual specific World War II missions that have been planned out could then be imported into it. So you could go and look for specific.
Could you be Gunther Preen? Could you be Gunther Preen and go and sink the Royal Oak or whatever? You know?
Yeah.
Can you sneak into the harbor and sink the aircraft carrier?
It's the kind of stuff you could come up with and have fun with.
Just how tight is it to navigate around Scarpa Flow?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah. Interesting to see where it goes. I imagine we'll find out once John gets his copy.
I'm already following it. I'm waiting for the notification to say that it's gone live.
Yeah.
Just waiting to see it go live now, and John just drop the headset, walk away, and just
dive.
Token.
Yep,
right.
Did there. Yeah.
Staying with World War II, news from Warlord.
Yeah, so this one's a little bit of a fresh one. So there's not too much information about this as of yet. But Warlord Games have talked about moving into the realm of crowdfunding and also board gaming stuff as well. So they put forward this first look at the cover art for their new game that is going to be coming to crowdfunding and then releasing in spring 2024, hopefully, fingers crossed, called Vanguard. It's going to be a mix of resource management as well as troop combat on the tabletop, which I think is going to be very interesting. They've said that it's got some similarities to what you might have played before in Bolt Action, and there have been whispers and stuff in the comments and things on social media and on Tabletop of people talking about Stallard saying that maybe it's got a little bit of something to do with Kill Team in terms of its kind of vibe and feel of it. So maybe it's sort of a board-based miniatures game where you use your kind of Warlord plastics to fight out battles and things. Maybe they do something slightly quirky with that and stuff. It'll be very interesting to see what they do, but I am intrigued. It sounds like a fun way to sort of get people interested in World War II combat on the tabletop, and it'd be fun to see where they go with it. But yeah, watch out for more on this one in the future, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting that they've gone with a resource management sort of aspect to it, because they obviously Bolt Action does the ground sort of thing fairly well. They already have Combined Arms as more strategic / tactical board game that can be combined with the other games. But they haven't really done a resource management side to either of them to date. So how much of a change that will make to gameplay could be interesting.
It will be interesting. Yeah. As I say, it's very new. Apparently they were showing off some bits and pieces of it at Eschenspiel and stuff. So we might see some news come out about it on Board Game Geek and that kind of thing in the near future. But I know Warlord are very excited about this one, so we will keep an eye on it. See where it goes.
Okey-dokey. Fascinating. Right.
Yeah.
Off to the Old West. And we've got a ton of buildings from Black Scorpion.
Yes, exactly. So Black Scorpion, who a lot of people will know for doing their really nice Tombstone range, which is a fantastic section of gunfighters, both slightly weird and wonderful and also historical, and also a game called Tombstone as well. They are moving towards doing a Kickstarter, which is starting soon, which is all about 3D printable Wild West terrain. So it seems like Wild West is the vibe right now. And I'm not just saying that because I've got it sitting on my painting table. But everyone seems to be making awesome terrain for it at the moment. And these are going to be STL-only files that will be able to get through the Kickstarter, and they will cover kind of all of the basic stuff that you'd expect to find in a Wild West frontier town. So you're going to have your store, you're going to have your saloons, you've got all your scatter terrain like fences and everything else like that. You've got your hardware store. It's all been done to the scale of the stuff that Black Scorpion have worked on before. So kind of like 28 to 32 mil, which tends to be their miniatures range, slightly more on the heroic side, which I think is quite good. Obviously then works with the kind of weird and wonderful stuff that they've been doing. And it also carries through that really nice sculpting style that Adam has, I think, through. So you get the feel of his work in the terrain, even though moving into slightly more of a digital space, which I think is quite good. As I say, all just going to be STLs for now, available through the Kickstarter, so you'll be able to get those and get them printed off. And then if you maybe in the future, if it goes very well, we might start to see these released physically, but there are no plans as of yet. But as a first little preview of what's coming up from this, I think they look really, really nice. And I can see a lot of people picking these up. So, yeah.
I like the fact that the cell at the side has been brick or adobe or some sort compared to the rest of the sheriff's office, just been a wooden building. Don't want to
Can't pry those boards off.
Yeah. Nice touch. Looks like they've been printed using one of those FIDMs as opposed to a resin. Is there? I assume there'll be no difference then when it comes to printing, whether it's been, I was going to say cast, whether it's been designed to be printed on FDM, you'll just get a cleaner version on a resin, or
you'd get a cleaner version, but what I would say is you'd get a more fragile thing if you did it in the resin. You're better. Maybe if it depends how the STLs break down. Like if say the signage and stuff was a separate piece, you could run those out on resin and make them nice and
make
crisp.
those nice and crisp. Yeah.
Yep. I don't think the woodwork matters that much. If anything, it probably adds a little bit of texture after a touch of sanding, maybe.
Okay.
To give you an idea, these were printed on an Anycubic Viper FDM. So there you go. If that means something to you.
No.
Vipers were my favorite in Battlestar Galactica.
But yeah.
Anyway,
watch out for that Kickstarter very soon. And be looking forward for more, because there are apparently loads and loads of buildings that he's been working on. So yeah.
It'd be interesting to see just how big the town gets. Right, we'll be wrapping up the news shortly, but it wouldn't be a news section without Games Workshop.
Yeah. So it's Warhammer Day tomorrow.
Good.
So there'll probably be a preview full of amazing things.
Excellent.
And we're not talking about them because we're doing the show before the date. But anyway, never mind.
Say nothing. Act casual.
Yeah. So new releases coming up for pre-order this weekend are going to be a whole host of bits and bobs for the Horus Heresy. So starting things off, there is a new book called Exemplary Battles of the Age of Darkness, which is a new take on the older books that they used to do for the last edition of the game. This one comes with new rules for that big, chunky, Fulgrim model that we saw previewed not too long ago, alongside running the Traitor Legions of the Emperor's Children as well on the tabletop. You'll also find loads of new battles and everything else in there as well, as you would expect by the name. So if you're interested in picking up that and following through on where to take the demonic Fulgrim and his lovely fellows, then you'll be able to get stuck in and pick that up. There is also a new battle group box set as well. So this is the one that contains the Mark III tactical the Mark III Space Marine armor. So you'll get a whole host of those in there alongside the Deredeo, Dreadnought, and a Land Raider as well. So very classic stuff, but also an update on the previous Mark III kits. So if you didn't pick those up before, then you've got a new one to play around with. And they're just as modular as the other kits that Games Workshop have been doing in plastic for the Horus Heresy in this new edition. So you can mix and match things as the legions would have done during the Horus Heresy. So you can play around with loyalists and traitors to your heart's content. If you're a big fan of things like salamanders and that kind of thing, then these are going to be very nice patterns of armor for people to play around with. As I say, the Derrideo is there as well. So if you want your walking gun platform, you have the option to do so. Equally good at destroying infantry as it is blowing holes in the side of tanks. And we know how people like running combined arm stuff of dreadnoughts and all sorts of things in the Horus Heresy. So make sure to blow those to pieces. And then last but not least, you've also got the Armory of the Sons of Horus set. So this is for those people who want to outfit their elite troops with those brutal weapons, both new patterns of bolters and also the melee weapons as well. So use these on your veteran squads and that kind of thing to give them an extra bit of pizzazz. So a good mix of different bits and pieces there from both Games Workshop's plastic stuff and also the Forge world. So everything that you saw in the battle group is the plastic stuff, which is nice to see. So the Derrideo is finally available in plastic and available without a mortgage. And then the Armory of the Sons of Horus is the Forge world resin stuff that you can bolt onto the side of your collection. So yeah, very cool.
It's interesting. I was going to ask, because obviously I know that a lot of the stuff had been Forge World, and then it would be specific. So the fact that that's got a big eye on the front of that Land Raider, there's the potential that that's separate. And
so that'll be just part of a plastic kit.
Yeah. That Land Raider's already an existing kit.
Yes,
so it's
the Proteus.
Yep.
Proteus? Yeah.
I don't know.
Proteon, one of them.
I think it's Proteus.
It's a Land Raider.
Yeah, it's a Land Raider. It's an old Land Raider.
Mark IV, I think that's what they called it, didn't they? Land Raider Mark IV. There you go. It's all the lovely little pickle helms. Go team, go.
But yeah, so very nice stuff there. Good if you're looking to either start a Horus Heresy force or just add to one that already exists. And as I say, there's also this like Warhammer Day preview where they're probably talking about the old world and doing some cool stuff, but whatever, who cares about that, right?
I'm just going to go back to putting Twilight Kin lists.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you now, they're filth. They're fast filth as well. All right, that's enough news. We'll just take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be wrapping up the show. Okay, we are back. It's time to look at some 3D printing, and which will shock nobody at all. It's Wild West based. It's very much. I mean, I'm not saying we're in a rut at the moment or anything, but we're in some sort of Wild West well, and we can't get out. Help through me, Rip.
Yeah,
we're in the creek.
We surrounded by engines.
We don't have a paddle. But you might be able to 3D print one
with
the folks at Knuckle Duster. So we've had a look at Knuckle Duster's stuff in the past as part of an Indie of the Week because they do absolutely amazing Wild West miniatures that cover both the kind of Hollywood stuff, but also the historical. And they also have a really good game as well called Gunfighter's Ball. But because people have been hammering on at Knuckle Duster to do it, they have actually now gone and put up a whole bunch of their digital STL stuff on their web store for you to go and get your hands on. So they've done a couple of different factions for you to dive into and print off at home, alongside some terrain bits and pieces as well. And also some nice little bits and pieces for those people that want to go down a slightly more cartoon route as well, which I think is quite nice. But they have done this out of the goodness of their hearts, and they've now made a whole bunch of these STL files available for people to download and print off to their heart's content, which I think is just great.
Look, cows. We'll get into this minute. I have a ton of Knuckle Duster's metals, absolute ton, and I really like them a lot. However, there's one vendor for them in the UK. I don't know if they've got one in Europe. So otherwise you're ordering from the States, which does mean this opens it up for more people to get their hands on them, which is always a good thing. I do like the idea of adding the likes of the cattle and the horses and the like as well, though.
You can start some rustling of your own.
Very much so. Start some, or fill a corral with them and then ask them if they're okay. But the big standout ones for me here are things like the horses, because I want a load of horses with no tack on them, either in a corral or riding about the outskirts of town in a little herd. And they also do a set with full tack on them that could be then put outside the various buildings.
Yeah.
And, have your hitching posts. I know what you're laughing at there. It's Jake the Peg, isn't it?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, we'll get to him, don't worry. But having these, because you can mount in Dead Man's Hand and dismount, or alternatively, they can just be there to be bits of hard cover to hide behind, and then lower hard cover when they get hit, depending on how you're doing.
Does Knuckle Duster do a longhorn with tack on it, so we can get Mungo's point?
It doesn't, but Mungo's there.
Needs his longhorn, man.
There is a mounted version of Mungo available. So is he on this page? No, he's not. He must be on the next one. I'll open him up as well.
That's hilarious.
I know you're all dying to see it. There's Billy Connolly, the big one. There's the giant, played by, I can't remember his name. You'll recognize him from Jaws and stuff. Obviously,
yes.
That's from Pale Rider, Clint Eastwood. There's a terrible bush ranger.
Favorite.
Absolute fail. You have not even had a chance to play with them really yet.
No.
Against somebody who knows what they're doing.
No, I'd play against Paul. Per bad.
We'll get to him eventually. Oh. Cantiogram for Mungo, where are you? Have I skipped him? Was he at the start?
Oh my god, the chibi stuff.
Yeah.
Chibi stuff is
for that
well.
gamey type thing. Yeah.
So I've just jumped all over creation here, haven't we? Let's drill down and have a look at some of the other bits and bobs before I get completely lost. So there's the Elven Gunfighter. So if you fancy doing a Wild West version of something like Shadowrun with your elves up against your orcs, that is doable.
Yeah.
You can really put the weird into Wild West, which is always good. Good, clean family fun, and they look absolutely ridiculous.
I like Chaps the orc.
Chaps is good. Boiler is also interesting because obviously Boiler's got a bit of a boilerplate there to protect him. Look, he's come loaded for bear. Oh, that's a hell of a big chamber on that gun.
Oh yeah.
Don't know what's coming out of that.
6 barrels.
Twice.
Oh, beautiful.
Get what you ask for. But Damgan, the three-legged man. I've often seen this online, and at one point I was thinking it's an artifact of the sculpt where they had just not, because they always show the renders, and then I finally see the model and was like, oh no, he is exactly like that. I mean,
so good.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Now you just need a one-legged man, and then that way the number of your legs and your gang will even out across the
Yeah.
They do explain where
they
print them, by the way. So these are stuff where Frozen, Let It Go, TM7 stuff. Super glue. I recognize super glue. Thank God for that. But the rest of that might mean something to somebody. My favorite part of this is obviously you can buy a metal copy instead. That will forever be the one I'm aiming at. But for you kids with your music, television, and your drugs, you can obviously get in here and print these bits and pieces out. And again, the incidental pieces are great.
Yeah,
so
the barbershop's wonderful.
Accessory.
Yeah.
Lavender water, sir? Just 5 cents more? No? Again, there's Clint from High Plains Drifter. No one? Just me?
I know High Plains Drifter, but
he's the barber who offers him the lavender water. He's trying to get as much money out of as possible.
Oh yeah.
And then they come across town and interrupt his shave.
Of course.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
These would be great for sticking into those buildings we looked at earlier.
Yes, wouldn't it?
It's almost like we've melded things together.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's finely crafted, stuck together with the finest DJ glue. The Gunfight Royale board game has these chibi characters that are based on similar range. this is interesting that they've done this, because obviously for the board game it was very distinctive, but during the board game people were going, but I don't want chibi, I want to just use the regular models, and you can, because it's a board game, nobody can stop you. But they might make interesting little collection for painters, because a lot more detail can go into the massive big heads on them.
Yeah,
look at the big Irish head on them, as the map would say.
You're not going to miss that when you're shooting.
Nope.
So.
No, you won't. So they are something unto themselves. And obviously, if you want to get in and have a whiz around with those, you can do.
Yeah.
I'm still annoyed that I've seemed to have lost. There's Wild Bill Hiccup. How have I lost Mungo? He must have been on the first page, and I must have just been talking so much that I went past him, which wouldn't be like me.
Knuckle Duster have also said that this is probably just going to keep expanding. So the more stuff that they do, the more likelihood that we're going to see sets appearing on here as well. Oh, no. So you're never going to lose the metal range. Obviously, that's going to still stay. But this is here for those people, as Jerry was saying, that just can't get a hold of them and so want to get the digital files to get them printed off. So,
yeah, very handy to have. And again, incidental pieces of furniture. Dress your buildings. Let people know what they're breaking into and setting on fire when they're
nice things to kick over and hide behind as you get into shootouts. Yeah.
Or
if you run out of ammo, hit him with the back end of a blacksmith's hammer.
Yep. That'll do the job. There's a ball peen hammer there. That'll teach him.
Calapri's leg.
Just
drag him into a fire. Throw him off a building.
Stop throwing people off buildings. God.
What is it with you today?
But yeah,
trampled by bison.
It will be interesting to see where they go. Will the entire range end up going digital in the long run, as well as being available? Because obviously there's always the issue with putting files out there that one person buys them, then they all go up onto the internet in various places, which is why a lot of companies, and certainly smaller companies who don't have massive turnovers, are hesitant to do so. So hopefully this will expand the amount of people who can get into Wild West gaming through Knuckle Duster.
Definitely, sure.
And
more options is always better.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's always the potential for the. I really just want to go through the Knuckle Duster range now and find Mungo, because the whole Blazing Saddles crew's there, and Mungo is riding on a steer.
Yeah.
But I'm not going. I'm going to resist. See how good I am.
Right.
You can go onto their web store and find it for yourself.
You can find it for yourself, 100%.
And then not tell us where it is, because that's also a theme of today.
That's very much a theme. All the theme, all the time. But the sculpts are great, and because he's been sculpting these digitally anyway for so long, it means that the range is presumably all there. I don't know how much is required to change them from. Because obviously Mantic just took their initial files and put them into the vault, and then people went, that doesn't work for 3D printing. You have to hollow them out and put sink points and like assholes on things so that things drain out, and I have no idea. But presumably there's a bit more work goes into it than just going, here's the file, do it yourself. But I think it becomes both regular and minty, or supported and unsupported, I think is what you kids say. So that's all good.
Yeah.
And
you even get the bases as well.
Yeah. If you're not sticking them on your own bases, away you go. It's a cracking range of stuff, and it's like I say, great that other people can get access to it now more easily and not have to wait on a 6-week turnaround. I'm content to wait on a 6-week turnaround because I've still not painted the first stuff I got years ago. So 6 weeks is nothing to me. Oh, Vienna. Anyway,
one day.
Knuckle Duster Digital. There you go. Just lives on the normal Knuckle Duster website. You just go and find downloadable models. So if you go to the front page and just scroll,
I'll have a link down below.
Yeah, or you can do that as well, I suppose. Making it easy for
I'll be helpful, I guess.
Yeah. Well, why not? One of us has to be. It's not going to be me. We've all learned that if we've learned nothing else. Right. Away to that and off to Kickstarters. We have a pair to leave you with this week. And we're going to start off with Torch and Shield.
Yeah. So I reckon this is probably a game that was essentially just made for me, I think. So Torch and Shield comes from the folks at Grimskald. And this is a Dwarven dungeon delving adventure miniatures game. Oh, that
Of course it
going
is.
to blow your mind. Right. So, in this world, the dwarves have been displaced from their ancient halls by terrible monsters and hellions from beyond, and forced to live in dirty, horrible human society. They've decided to go back into their dwarven holds to see if they can reclaim some of the treasures that were lost by their ancestors. However, all the dwarven clans have decided that they want to be the ones that come back with the treasure and the glory and the honor. And so you can dive into a competitive dungeon delving festival of awesomeness where you pit your clans against each other. You can also play the game solo and cooperatively if you like, but I prefer the idea of dwarves setting grudges against each other. I think that's a good way to go. Unless there's some elves involved, maybe then we could change things around. But what you do in this game is you can play it one-off if you like, but you can also dive into proper campaigns. You will choose a clan, you will build your dwarven warband that goes delving, and you will head out to play through dungeon tile-styled adventures, a little bit like a classic game of Dungeons and Dragons or something like that, as you will fight to claim treasure, lock away monsters, seal vaults, and maybe even occasionally just defeat your other clans to see who can come out with the highest honors.
It's the happiest dragon I've ever seen.
Hey, food! So the game has a very small amount of models that you need to play it. It's around sort of under 10 in some cases, mostly, depending on how you arm them and all that kind of stuff. You'll then choose all your skills and everything like that, and you'll dive into a whole range of sort of fun dungeon delving adventures, which are set up using dungeon tiles. You can get the miniatures from Grimscald, so they've done miniatures for the 3 clans that they've originally designed. So the Copperbrows, the Iron Thanes, and the Buldar. They each have their own theme to them. Like the Copperbrows are very much about getting as much gold as possible because they love wealth and they have lovely slashed silks to walk around in, and they like black powder, very classic sort of old hammery dwarf style. You've got the Iron Thanes, who are grizzled veterans that are very much about being militaristic, and they come with heavy armor and big weapons and shields and all that kind of thing. And then you've got my favorite, the Buldar, which are your kind of Slayer cult that eschew all of those kind of silly ranged weapons. Who needs them when you're in a tunnel anyway? And they charge into battle with their axes to kill as many things as possible before they get dragged down by monsters and all that kind of stuff.
And do they throw people off pits?
They do, yes. They throw people into pits. The game itself is very cool. It's kind of a mixture between card-based play, but also dice. So when you start a round of Torch and Shield, you'll draw from a pack of cards. So it's a full sort of standard deck that you'd expect. And then you will assign those cards to different characters in order to determine who activates in which order. So you start from sort of high ace all the way down to the bottom, and a joker is a wild, so they can fit into any of those different initiative steps, depending on what you like. And then when you do any actions in the game, it's all resolved using a dice pool system. So 5s and 6s are successes on your dice. And say you want to attack somebody, you will assemble your pool of dice based on your sort of core stat. So maybe it's 4, for example, if you're using your martial skill. And then you'll add or subtract dice depending on the situation that you're in. So if you've trapped somebody, if you've got height advantage or that kind of thing, you'll build that all into the dice pool and then you'll roll them. Any successes are then turned into wounds that the enemy can save against, again, using 5s or 6s, based on the armor value against weapons and that kind of stuff. And then you'll do damage and all that kind of bits and pieces. So it's a really, really fun game with a very simple base system. But then the really interesting thing about this that I love is that they've clearly looked at sort of role-playing games and that kind of thing and built on a whole host of additional sort of depth to the mechanics. So you've got you can either use the cards that you get from the deck to activate normally and then just do regular attacks and stuff, or you can use them to do special actions. And there are special actions that are universal for everybody. So that might be sort of like charging or sort of doing a toss or something like that. And then there are special actions that are very much applied specifically to individual characters, which might have them from being heroes or the type of character that you've picked, or maybe an upgrade that you've got through going through the campaign. And they allow you to dive into all sorts of funky sort of bits and pieces. Like you might be able to do special maneuvers to move things around, or like do like hampering shots, or like hamstring people and all that kind of stuff. So very, very cool bits and pieces in there to kind of go really in depth with the combat. The combat itself has got some really fun little bits and pieces in terms of maneuvering and things. So like when you fight people, you can actually push them around and stuff as you win combats. So there's a really nice maneuvering thing. And yes, you could then push someone off into a pit to, yeah, very cool. Yeah.
Is that how you get the height advantage?
Yeah, it's how you get the height advantage
for pits. Yeah. So then you can get high advantage on other people.
There's 2 great videos that they've done, which go through the basics of how to play, and then also some slightly more advanced mechanics. You'll also note, and you can see it in the little background of that video there, it's not just dwarves going up against each other. As you play through the game, one of the phases that you get during a turn is an event phase, and that can spawn things like traps, but it could also spawn monsters that will appear on the board and sort of hunt you down. That's also tied into the kind of darkness mechanics that they got in the game as well. So when you delve in, you'll have certain characters that'll have torches because you obviously need to see in the dark and all that kind of stuff. And as that starts to dwindle down, darkness will sort of close in around you. And if monsters are shrouded by the shadows and stuff, then they'll get bonuses to attack you and drag you off into the darkness and all that kind of thing. So they've done some really fun bits and pieces there. There's lots of stuff in there for you to get sort of stuck into and play around with the characters and the storylines and all that kind of stuff. As I say, there's a campaign in there, so you can play through that, or you could just play one-off missions if you like. As I mentioned earlier as well, obviously all the miniatures and all the dungeon tiles are available, but you can just go in and get yourself just the core PDF if you like, or you can get the physical book, and you could just use whichever dwarf miniatures you have in your collection. I happen to have quite a few. And the same for the tiles as well. You could just get cracking with some Hearst art stuff if you liked, or you could just draw on a battle map. Yeah, exactly, and have some fun that way. The campaign, as I say, is broken down into a whole bunch of different options. So obviously the miniatures and the rules that we mentioned there. You can go full digital if you want, or you can go full physical. This is being shipped from Australia, so maybe that's something that could be a consideration for some people if they dive into this. They've also got plans to take this even further as well. There's already an expansion planned called the Vaults of Zarn, which will include even more clans for you to play as, plus the chance to play as a monster warband. So if you want to play as the gribbly creatures down in the darkness, you can do, which I think is very, very nice.
Kobolds everywhere.
Exactly, yeah. And yeah, I just think this looks great. I was having a look through the sort of initial sort of quick start rules that they put together. I say quick start. It is an immense rule book. If you back at any level, you'll get access to that, which I think is quite nice. So you can have a look at it and then maybe up your pledge later on if you like the sound of the game. But it is packed with detail. There's loads of way for you to advance your characters. There's lots of really nice weapons and armor and skills and everything to attach to your different dwarves. It's all WYSIWYG as well. So it's one of those games that a lot of purists will like, where it's like, I will definitely go in and sort of kit bash my characters and that kind of stuff. What else am I forgetting? The miniatures themselves, they're all being done in Seocast plastic as well. So if you want to get your hands on those, that's how they're going to produce them. And they've also got the monsters and everything as well that they can throw into the set at the same time. So yes,
some funky,
pretty chock-a-block
monsters.
Project. Yes.
I mean, they cool obviously the little gnome-looking things.
I love them. They're very cute.
Could be a goblin, could be a gnome. It's entirely up to you. Either way, they've got some form of man catcher and they're prodding a massive minotaur forward.
Yeah,
that's not going to end well for anyone.
No, but yeah,
I like the fact that they've gone with the option of both physical and STL.
Yes,
so you can fill your boots depending on your preference there. And like you say, not everybody's going to be wanting to pay the additional costs of shipping from Australia. But the option is always there if, like me, you refuse to the 3D printing ones and zeros things. But it looks like there's a bit of a world growing up around it as well.
Yeah. So that they've clearly been working on this for a while, and they have very much sort of gone into great depth when it comes to the backstory and the different clans and how that all works. As I say, it's almost as much a role-playing style game as it is a miniatures skirmish game. And because you have the solo and cooperative element in there as well, I think that really enhances it. And I'm very much on the sort of side of it'll be really fun to do this cooperatively, I reckon. Diving in and playing around with either 2 warbands together or one warband that you share and go up against the different monsters. There's an AI system in there for the monsters anyway, but it's kind of tweaked slightly for when you play solo or cooperatively. Sure. But it's not massive. It's like an extra page of additional text that you need to look through. So
that's good.
Not too bad.
And they're not far off unlocking then the hired mercenaries, the hired heroes sort of supplement upgrade as well. So
maybe that's we'll see some nasty elves.
Yeah, or well, push some elves or humans in front of you to take the first hits.
Yeah. Let them take the brunt of the damage. Yeah.
There we go. That's the way to do that. Torch and Shield, 26 days left, and already funded. Well done, them. Is that us for the week? Is there anything I'm forgetting?
I think we can go now.
Yeah. See you after.
No, sit your ass down. I've remembered. It's the multi-award winning Moonstone.
Wow.
Oh, where was my head at? They're on Kickstarter at the moment.
The people who've been watching live have just been going like, yes, come on.
Shades of Moonreach is on Kickstarter. And this is the fourth faction for Moonstone. So the way this works is very simple. This Kickstarter is to bed in the fourth faction and get them on par with the current factions of Commonwealth, Dominion, and La Chevalte. So to do this, Goblin King Games have put together a selection of packs for their new undead, but they didn't just want to go with the regular skeletons and zombies dragging themselves around the place. They've decided to lean into the more whimsical nature of Moonstone by making things a little bit more fun and different play style as well, which is the main thing. So over the last 2-3 weeks, various YouTube type peoples have been showing off some bits and pieces to do with the Shades of Moonreach, which I will now give everybody a shout out, because we've all had a chance to have a look at some work in progress cards, which aren't on the Kickstarter. So if you want to see them, Out of the Breach had Rory and the Terrible Musician. Tabletop Skirmish Games showed off Greymare the Cleric and the Flaybearer of Terrible Knowledge, along with Nanny, Sprog, Pookie, and Urchin. TNG Productions had Sinara and Jeremy Lord of the Deep. Always Bored, Never Boring had Morag. Heroic Scale Gaming had Victor Petty. Blackjack Legacy showed off Abracadaverous and Lampy Darkson. Cinderfall Gaming had Kin Chernat himself, aka the Echo of the Forgotten. And Tea Cake of Torment was also being shown off there. And we had a look at Negroli and Brave Sir Pidge. So those are some of the names. What does it all mean? Glad you asked. There are 2 flavors of Fundead for the Shades of Moonreach. First off, King Chernat, the Forgotten King, was a terrible, terrible man who ended up overthrowing and subjugating all of the people on Tauber, to the extent that some some gnomes one day went in with a load of explosives and literally ringed off the city and exploded it and dropped it into the ground. Say, dropping buildings off a height. You didn't think of that. And then, unfortunately, all the immortal nobles and the king got essentially walled up inside, where they've remained to this day. So that's your classical style undead, which are known as the Risen. So that's where you will find things like revenants and maybe things that are touch on the zombie or skeletal side, physical things that you can poke and then go, I wish I hadn't poked that, now I'm covered in sticky. Then there are the shades, because within Moonstone you can mix and match, but there's always like 2 distinct styles of play for each of the factions, and then it's up to you to find synergies and fun things to do with them. And the shades that have come out of the Deadlands are the incorporeal, ephemeral spirit types. Now, on both sides, they have these things. These are called psychopumps. These live in the spirit world, the Deadlands. They are there as entertainment and subservient things for the spirits to deal with. And they're an unusual group of creatures.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were ever actually alive. Who knows? Who knows what the backstory is? But when you bring the various shades into play, a lot of them have attributes or abilities that allow them to summon various psychopomps. Some of them have synergies with specific psychopomps. So if you bring in specifically like the terrible musician, he's a blast attack that knocks things away that works very well with some of the other figures. So building those little troops and support characters are what the game's all about. It's the meat and potatoes of how things play out, and you get some absolute corkers in there. So if you look there, the Never-Ending Nights, where you have Negroli himself, who's very much a dashing, daring-do hero and fighter. Serif, the Pavill's wielding crossbow skeleton, who has the option to fire multiple times. So when bluffs are called, then you can launch off another shot at somebody. But my favorite's got to be Greymare, the cleric, who unfortunately, when Moonreach got exploded and leveled, his head got crushed. So he's constantly having to stitch new heads on. That's why he's got an ass's head.
Love it.
Because his own is no longer functional. So just got to make do and mend, as they say. And it's just a peculiar set of things. So the Shady Bunch containing Sinara, which is the first time we've seen a merfolk creature on the table. They've appeared in some stories. They appeared during the Fate of Eric, and we found out a bit about how they managed to actually get around in the air with their little seashell necklace. But at the same time, they're still a fish thing with no legs. So this was an interesting way to introduce them. Maybe they'll turn up in future. Maybe they won't. But Tom had the idea and decided to go with it. And then there's Morag, who unfortunately has gone very wrong. And as you can see, this troop has got the shade symbol, but also the La Chevault poking around the back of it. So that can be used with La Chevault. They haven't got a symbol beside them, so I'm assuming they're straight shades. And then later on, you can see some of the others are mixed. So there's shades and Dominion for Victor Petty, the grave robber, whose family was nobility. Unfortunately, he didn't get entombed in an immortal life. So he's just had to watch the fact that his money and wealth and fame has all gone away, and his family have been, for 500 years, his family have been making do. He's ended up as a grave robber, and now he's looking to get some payback. Maybe advance himself in his station.
Sounds good.
Which is all really good. And then the Freaky Fuggy with Jerry Hare, Rory, and Abracadabras. And these are just not right in any way, shape, or form. These really push the whole comedic but still creepy style of things.
Illuminated manuscript marginalia.
Marginalia, yeah. It's marginalia meets Hieronymus Bosch as well. I think Tom was saying he had a lot of influence on that, although not as much influence as Susie did with this one, because she really likes Count Dacula, and Nanny comes more or less from Count Dacula, along with her three little urchin psychopomps, who all have their own abilities. Like I say, you can have a look at Tabletop skirmish games, because they look at the work in progress cards. So there's things like she did it and he hit me and it wasn't me, or there's special abilities that allow you to do things like attack or take energy or redistribute. So the psychopomps are there for support and flavor, but they can be quite egregious. Really fascinated by Angerboda, because Angerboda is she's a Jotun in Norse mythology.
She is, yeah.
She's responsible for some of Loki's unusual children.
Fenrir's.
Yes. She's also, and more importantly, got the big son of the Commonwealth behind her.
Ooh.
So I imagine the Nordic keyword is going on there, which really asks the question, why, when there's a Nordic faction of gnomes in Moonstone, one of which is led by Joanna, who has a squirrel on her shoulder, do I not own them? And it's a question that I've been asking myself for some time. So that may be changing soon. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because we've got these two bigger box sets. So unlike the other 6 boxes, which are sort of troop warbands or support, where you've got all the psychopomps in the little box by themselves, these are some of the big creatures. So Angerboda, Frost Giant, Happy Days, the Echo of the Forgotten King. This is Cheernut himself. This is the terrible one who's, if people haven't played I'm going to spoil it now, but in the Rising book, at the end of that Rising campaign story that Susie wrote, Chirnut comes back because the wizards, the Elric, accidentally summoned him. They didn't realize they were summoning him, and now they can't control him. So when you play the Forgotten King, he can come in a couple of ways. So like the Psychopomps can be summoned. You can either start with the Echo of the Forgotten King on the table, or he can be summoned in game by
Igor.
Igor, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, him, this gentleman with the candelabra. But once he's on the table, he does a lot, and he burns through his corporeal presence very quickly. So you're on a ticking clock before he goes away. So essentially, this incredible manifestation of power, this huge ghost, the echo of this king, appears and then lays waste to the area and then disappears again. So it's trying to do excessive amounts of damage as quickly as you can with him before he disappears into the void again. So the campaign itself is for the miniatures, the cards. That's all they're focusing on. And they do these sort of Kickstarters in sequence. So the last one was for the Arising book that had all of the story plus all of the cards and stats and backgrounds for the characters that had been produced prior to that. Likewise here, you won't be getting a book, but these will feature in a book coming next year or the year after. So this is just to get the figures out and people gaming with them. As you can see, they've already got a lot of the 3D renders done for some of these. So
close to the artwork.
Yeah.
So nice.
Including things like, the Tea Cake of Torment, whose ability is Eat Me. They do not have a healer. The particular idea was that they're undead. On every other faction has healing and healing abilities. Don't bother. Either they have resurrection, or you just assume that they're going to go away, and certain things like some of the Psychopomps will curse whenever they go, and so you want them to be coming in and going out constantly. It's like a form of resource management. You want Psychopomps to appear, do damage, or do a debuff, and then disappear to then regenerate some of your decaying flesh or spirit nature. There's the head coming out of Jerry Ayer's arse there, which is great. There's a few little one-offs that are coming, so there will be a limited edition bonus Psychopomp, which you can lay your hands on, and also there is going to be I don't know if it's on here. Oh, it is a limited edition alternate sculpt, because they often do these. So Victor Petty, Marty the Ghost, and Shay Ara alternatives. I mean, nice, but Joby's already out. Joby came out in as the very first Shade character before the Wildwood set came out. He popped out in a Dominion set, and I really like the idea of having Joby, especially with his martini as well, just leaning on that, because obviously he's part of the Shades as well. But I really like the idea of him. I haven't voted for him yet. I could do that now. No, I will. Actually, we'll come back to that. Anyway, if you're looking to get into Moonstone, there's a whole host of ways you can do it. For the purposes of this, there is a discount on the Shades, because the Shades are brand spanking new, and that's what they're looking to do. Tom said there's no discount on the current figure range because they don't want to undercut any of the people who actually sell their stuff. So any of the independent shops don't want to, if people are stocking Moonstone, they don't want to discover that they've got a whole bunch of new players and not one of them has actually picked up a box in their store, which I 100% get behind. But if you don't mind paying just the regular retail price, you can flesh out your pledge here, and then that way you'll help me get more stretch goals as well.
Lovely
so
forms.
That's great. Yeah, so like I say, there's the Last Chivalry cultists and the Last Chivalry fawns. So Last Chivalry, obviously two different styles, but you can blend the boxes together. So if you want some of these fawns with some of these cultists, you can mix and match, and there'll be different ways to build your lists and your synergies within there as well, which is great. So yeah, really looking forward to this. Getting my hands on the physical stuff next year. Hopefully it won't take too long. Obviously, turnaround time, nothing is guaranteed these days, but I believe, obviously, all the casting's done in the UK. I think the lovely printed packaging and the like is also done here. So theoretically, there shouldn't be any issues because it's companies that Tom's worked with for a while now at Goblin King. And it would be great to see what way things go. And you can always, like they say, give the game a go immediately, if not sooner. There's even a tabletop simulator version, although I couldn't work out how to make tabletop simulator work to try it with Shay and Justin a few weeks ago. I did press buttons and things opened, and I got very confused. Give me a table full of miniatures and some cards, and away I go. I'm much happier with that. Oh look, I'm just unboxing him at the moment, Sir Hogwash. Right,
I should point out they mentioned a video there. We have a couple of Let's Plays on Tabletop. So we've got a how to play and a full game as well. So
there's a how to play where Tom tries his best to control and corral Warren against me, and then I play Tom later on, where it's much more sedate and we don't have an errant Warren rampaging across the table. So that's all good. And then also I sat down and talked with Susie and Tom about the development of the shades and the storyline for Tauber as well. So that interview's up and lurking around on interwebs as well at the moment. If you're interested, I mean, really, you should be.
Why would you not be? Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anybody who hasn't currently started Moonstone.
Technically, I don't have any models yet.
You don't have any models, and I get a feeling that there's another slacker as well who you could reach out and touch, John.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to deal with this. Maybe you've played it though, Shay.
Yeah, I played against Paul. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you beat Paul?
Yeah, of course I did. It's Paul.
Yeah, that's Paul. Here's everybody's weapon. Right. Well, there you go. Maybe we'll have to get up and running with when the shades are kicking around and get a few more games in. And then you can decide who you're going to play then. Shay. Don't know who it could be. Could be anybody at all. Pirates. Yeah. You like the pirates?
I do like the pirates.
The pirates are really good.
Right.
I like the airships. The airships are cool.
Oh, the Goblin airship.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Giant inflatable frog. Right. Shades of Moonreach. There are 13 days left. It is funded. Play Moonstone. I really can't stress this enough. Even if you're not going to buy, even if you're going, Undead not doing it for me, go and have a look at the Let's Plays. And there's plenty out there from some of the other channels I mentioned earlier. It's a terrific game. It really is. And very unique. Again, like the Torch and Shield game where you've got the cards and the interplay and synergy there. Moonstone has its own sort of HEMA-esque card system of bluffing, which just means you're not likely to play a game like it, and at no point do you have to go, roll ones. I was guaranteed to kill you and I've rolled ones. It's all down to picking the right card and bluffing the hell out of your opponent, which makes it terrific fun to play with friends. Right, that's enough of that. I think I'm done. I'm going to go off and vote for what one of those alternative sculpts I want now. We shall return next Friday. But if that's too long, you can join us on Sunday over on tabletop.com for the XLBS. And if you're not already a cultist, you can sign up for a 30-day trial. And don't forget, if you want the Promethean complex set and you want to be lucky, comment here on the YouTubes this week for that one. Until next time, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.